Welcome to Real Conversation with Adriana Velez. We're continuing to talk about stop judging, and this time we're talking about stop judging your family. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoy. And I just want to talk about let's stop judging our family. Yes, I know it's hard because sometimes we do feel like we have that right and responsibility to judge them because we want them to be better. But honestly, most of the time when we're judging our family, we're not trying to fix their lives or make them better in any way, shape, or form. We're just telling them how they're doing it wrong. And that's not going to help anybody. I want us to focus on how should we stop judging or what mentality we should have instead. For example, when we're judging our parents, yes, most of us have judged our parents one time or another. Growing up, especially when you start school and you start to see different parents, maybe you only had a mom or maybe you only had a dad, and then you see other people that have both. And or maybe you don't have a lot of money and then you see the parents of other kids, other friends that they have a nice car, they have a nice house, they get every single toy they want. So we start to compare ourselves and we start to judge our parents of why don't they look like these other parents? Why don't they have what these other parents have? Why can't they work as hard so they can give me whatever I want? And as you're young, you start to be kind of selfish, even starting at a young age, to be honest. And you start to judge your parents of how they're not what you think they should be. But see, when we see other parents, even as a kid, we only see the superficial part of it because we don't live in that house. We don't see when the fights go on. We don't see when the rules get applied. We could see that, wow, this kid has everything and how fun, but you don't know, maybe they're like they work all the time and they never have time for me, and they might be like thinking like your parents are amazing because they are always there, they're always telling you like what to do so you're safe because they love you and they care. My parents don't even think about that. And there's so much judgment that comes to parents from their kids, and it starts at a young age, like I said. And so really the focusing of stop judging your parents, that goes until you're, as old as you may be now or even older, because we sometimes go back to it and judging them for, not doing things the way we would do it or the way we think that should be done. And so when we judge our parents, like we don't even stop to think that they're doing the best that they can with what they have or the situation, the place that they're at. Yes, that I understand there is parents that they shouldn't be parents. I get it. But at the same time, you don't know what got them there. Like, what's their past? What did they go through? What abuse did they go through? Like, was it an emotional roller coaster that they faced every day growing up, and that's what they're showing their kids? Like, you don't know. So even when you may think like, well, I could judge these guys because look, I mean, unless the kid is not safe, then definitely, it's something we report. But if not, like every parent is trying to do the best that they can. And not everybody has the right tools at that time, or, maybe the whole life. And a lot of times there's that judgment from the children that comes to towards their parents to say like, well, they weren't good parents, or I don't want to be like my mom or like my dad. But I challenge you to think about like whatever they're going through. Like, we don't understand. Like, a lot of time parents hold a lot inside it because they don't want to put that burden towards their children, and they want their kids to be kids, and they're not going to share everything that they go through. And that's why they may be as tired or frustrated as quick as they get, or whatever things are bothering them, they can't just share with their kids, especially when they're young. And so, instead of judging them, like, we should be thankful for who they are and how we get to have them. Like, and period. A lot of people don't even have their parents anymore. A lot of people lost their parents or never knew their parents. And to be able to have a parent, like, Don't judge them. Love them. Try to love the good things and the bad things because they're trying to be the best that they can. And the same way, like, you're not perfect, neither are they, and nobody else. So why do you think that you have a right to judge them when they're gonna keep on growing on their own way and their own path and their own timeline? And if you think about it, in the Bible it says to honor your father and your mother. Okay, so honoring them, not judging them, not trying to fix them because they are who they are. And that's actually one of the commandments that are with a promise of having a longer life. And so, if you think about it, that's probably very important. Doesn't mean that they're right or they're wrong, and that's when you honor them. No, you just honor them. And of course, like, there's a moment where you have to, like, separate and move on, and you're still gonna honor them, but that doesn't mean that you just stay like a slave and just lose your life and then you're old and that's it. No, but you could still honor them and love them and not judge them, and try to be thankful for what they're doing and how they're doing it, because at the end of the day, it's the best that they think they know how. And it might not be the way you would do things, but at the same time, when you have your own kids, or if you have your own kids, they probably feel the same way. And I think that if you start to show what loving your parents, honoring your parents looks like, you're setting an example for your kids to also treat you that same way. If you're treating your parents bad because you get annoyed because they don't do things the way you do, guess what? Those little ones after you are gonna do the same thing, right? And what we sow is what we reap, so be careful. So show grace, and also not just with your parents, but let's be real, with our siblings. It's hard, I know. A lot of times there is petty fights that happen, and at the end of the day nobody wants to apologize because some way, shape, or form you were offended and you just think that the other person should apologize, and then things just keep on building up. And so it can lead to a lot of families being disconnected, or just not growing up together. You start to have um, siblings mad at each other, so then that puts their kids, that their cousins, that they're not able to see, or they start to criticize the other cousin, even if they go in the same school or something. If we get like, oh, this person is this way, that's what my mom said, and that's like, that's really bad if you're teaching your kids to not walk in love. And if you think about it, it doesn't mean that you're right or you're wrong. It just means, like, what are you teaching your kids? To judge people, and they're gonna do it back to you. So stop judging and try to fix things with your siblings. Like, I could talk about myself too. Like, it's you grow up in the same room sometimes, and the age difference sometimes it's like, go away, you're bothering me. And I got that a lot growing up, where I wanted to hang out and I was not allowed because I was bothering. And it's sad because if you think about it, they just think you're cool and they want to hang out with you. So you should take advantage of that, and pour the good stuff that you have to offer to someone that's ready to receive and look up to. And so it's funny because a lot of times we can be offended with our siblings a lot faster than we would with our friends. So we show a lot more grace with our friends than with our siblings. And that shows because it could be the same thing told, and with your sibling you're like, how dare you, don't talk to me no more. It could go crazy, right? And then if it's a friend, it's like, oh, shut up, you la 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 la, and then move on. And then it's like, what? Like, what's the difference? Like, there is lack of grace because there's that judgment and that feeling of being judged. And so everything that is said, even if it's with the best intentions in the world, comes from a place where you're like, oh, they're judging me. And so then you think like, well, I'm not going to listen to what you have to say because you think you're better than me or something. And it's sad because realistically, the war is not with your sibling. You know, in the Bible, it talks about that we don't have our war is not against flesh and blood, but it's the spiritual realm that it's talking about. And so a lot of times the enemy tries to bring division. You know, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. So it starts to destroy the family. Realistically, that's the goal. You destroy the family, you pull them apart, then it's easier to attack them as they're separated. And so if you think about it, in the jungle or out in nature, and you see a pack of animals, the one that strays away, you know, those that are seeking to kill that prey or prey on that animal, they're going to chase after the one that's alone. And guess what? What the devil tries to do. That's what the enemy tries to do. Find the one that is apart. Find the one that is nobody's with them, so they can start to attack. They start to attack the mind, you know, and you start to feel like, oh, everybody's against me, and there's just so much offense that could happen just because opening a door to judgment, you know. And a lot of times, like, the things that offend people or like in siblings, they were just misunderstandings. And that's what it's sad to see, that it could separate families for years and years and years. I was at a funeral not that long ago, and one of the ladies that went up to talk was mentioning how there was a fence that kept the family apart, and how sorry she was that she would allow that to keep each other apart, and now, you know, losing that time of connection with this person that had passed. And you know what, it's easy to just be offended, and then you feel like, oh, they're judging me, I don't want to talk to them and everything. But if something were to happen, like, how much guilt we would feel that we didn't get to do things right with our family. So why wait until something bad happens to try to fix things? Fix it now that you have a chance. And if they don't want to fix it, that's fine, but at least you tried. It doesn't mean that you're right or you're wrong. It's just that it's more important to keep the family together, because friends come and go, but your family is always going to be your family. And so if you can't be at peace with your family, then, you know, your life is going to pass you by, and then you're going to have so many regrets because you let offense from not even judgment, it was just misunderstanding sometimes, put you in a place of judgment, and then breaking families apart. So I encourage you, one thing you can do is pray for them. If they don't want to get your forgiveness, accept your forgiveness, just pray for them, you know? Even if they just offended you, even if they cursed at you, like, pray for them, because it's not even them. Whatever oppression they have, that's what's attacking, and that's what's trying to keep your brother or sister away, so the devil can keep on messing with their mind, with their heart, bringing offense, making them feel condemned. And so I just encourage you that you would pray for your family, pray for your parents, pray for your siblings, pray for your children. Like, sometimes your children may uh come off where you feel like judged. And I feel like everybody's gonna feel like, because we did it with our parents. And it doesn't matter how long it took, there had to be at least a day where you were like either embarrassed because you were judging them for not looking or having what other parents have or how they look. So definitely something to consider, right? And then when we're judging even like cousins, aunts, uncles, like, if you think about that, like how much people can pour into each other's lives, that would be amazing. But instead, we start to compare. Like, one example I like to think is like, okay, you have 5 siblings and they had all their families, right? And let's say this one was in church 24/7. This one didn't even go to church. This one goes to church on holidays. This one, this is not sure. They're sometimes yes, sometimes no. And this one is brand new to church. Okay? And they all have kids, right? So sometimes the one that's in church all the time might be judging the one that's just starting. And oh my goodness, look at how they have their kids, they're not teaching them right, and or the one that doesn't even go to church. But at the same time, we can't judge our family because we're not in their process. We're not in the same place. Like, why would we judge? Like, they may judge you for being super religious, and that's still wrong. So it's like, why judge each other when everybody is going to do the best that they can? And whatever it takes, like, they're gonna be making choices, and you never know where they're going to end up. But if you keep on judging them, they're not going to want to run to something that you're telling them, because you may be preaching Jesus from your lips out, but your actions are way far above, but way far from that. So it's just something to consider. When we feel that we are right, I guess it's easier to feel like you need to correct other people, or you need to tell them how they're doing things wrong. And the thing is that, I mean, there's better ways to inspire people to do right, to choose right, to choose life, to choose joy. Like, if someone's not there, doesn't mean that you judging them is gonna get them there, right? And so it's, I don't know, that sometimes that grace that we have for our friends, we should have it more towards our family members. Everyone. So I don't know. Sometimes it's easier said than done because it happens, but when you catch yourself, like, do something about it. Even if you offended somebody because you were judging them, like, apologize. Put on your pants and go and apologize and, like, really mean it. Don't just be like, oh well, like, I shouldn't have done that, oh well. No. Don't leave those open doors for these, I don't know, these offenses to enter your family. So I don't know, I would just encourage you, pray for your family. I would encourage you that you would spend time getting to know your family the same way you get to know your friends. A lot of times, yes, we spend more time with our friends than with our family. And I know, especially when we're in our teenage years, sometimes we want to hang out with our friends more with our family, because we're always judging our family about anything and everything, right? And we go to our friend's house and then we see how they do things, and for some reason we just think they're the best people ever. But if we were in their home, then we would be judging them, and we would think that our parents were the best people ever. So it's just a perspective issue, that we have to look at our family just with kindness, compassion, with love, and really walking in love, that you could, verbally speak out good things that you see in them. like thank you, mom, because you work so hard for us. Thank you, brother or sister, because you really look out for me, when we were in school, or whatever it may be. Hey, cousin, I love you, and I'm excited because, you know, you have a beautiful family, or because, I see how hard you work in your job. Like, there's just different processes. Every single person is going to go through a different process. And the thing is that it doesn't matter if it's from the same parent, they're still going to have a different process, both siblings, both kids, right? And I think also that stop judging yourself for your family. A lot of times, and I'm going to talk to moms right now, like, sometimes you judge yourself for maybe things that you're saying, well, what did I do wrong with or when I raised my children? Where did I come short, like, or feel bad because you didn't do as good as you should have been able to. And a lot of that judgment, one, it already passed, you can't change it. Two, you can apologize, a sincere apology for any offense that you would have caused, but then you move on. You let it go and then you move on. And so forgive yourself and stop judging yourself. Because if not, you're going to stay stuck and you're not going to be able to enjoy the years that are to come. So you may feel that way, that you could have made things differently, could have done things better. But the thing is that whatever happened in the past already passed, and we need to stop judging. Stop judging your family. Stop judging your parents. Stop judging your siblings. Stop judging your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, and stop judging yourself. So be a little bit more compassionate and appreciate your family. They're gonna be there, even if you don't like it. So just have that attitude of gratitude towards your family, and that will keep you in check. So not feel so judgy sometimes. And if you do, if you catch yourself, then just stop and turn it into a prayer. Instead of saying, why do they do this? Just say, like, you know what? Open their eyes, God, that they would see how much you love them, how much you care, and that, you know, they would get to know the love of the Father. And that's the best advice I can give you, is just give it to God. Whenever that happens, don't try to change them. It's not going to happen. Stop judging them for that and just pray for them. Thank you so much for joining me today in Conversations with Adriana Velez, and I will see you on the next talk. Bye.